evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Economic Times Young Leaders program. With me are 5 outstanding CEOs and 28 outstanding young men and women who've made it to the list of the Economic Times Young Leaders program for 2012. A big round of applause for our 28 young leaders this evening. May I introduce you to the panel this evening. These are CEOs who need no introduction, but let me still do the job for you. We've got Mr. Vineet Nair of HCL Tech, Mr. Nitin Paranjpe of HUL, Ms. Shikha Sharma of Axis Bank, Mr. Harsh Mariwala of Marico, and Mr. Noshir Kaka of McKinsey. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. We've also got some young leaders on the panel this evening. Kunal Verma, Vidya Hangal, Vivek Mohan, and Govind Narayan. Let me start this discussion, Nitin, with you. Is there a glass ceiling for young CEOs? Because a lot of the young leaders that we talk to seem to indicate that there is a glass ceiling. How do young leaders break that glass ceiling?
Organizations must basically put in place mechanisms and culture which is based on meritocracy. And if it is based on meritocracy and if there is a performance culture, frankly, it doesn't matter whether you're a young leader or a not so young leader. The people who progress in the organization must be people who demonstrate that they deserve to progress.
Shikha, do you agree with that? That just because you're young doesn't mean that you're privileged, and at the end of the day, it's only meritocracy that should prevail?
Absolutely. I would just put the same thing another way. It's not about anyone owing anybody anything, but in a competitive world, and we live today in an extremely competitive world where there's enormous pressure to create value, the only way you're going to make that happen is if you compete with the best talent on board, and it doesn't matter where that talent came from.
Can we be agnostic to the young? Vineet Nair, do you agree with that? There are a lot of young people in HCL Tech as well. I'm sure you look to fast track, make a special case for young leaders. How do you do that?
So I'm a little biased here because I was fast tracked. So I joined in the senior management cadre and got an opportunity to be a CEO in 7 years' time. And the way I look at it is as follows, that if you're young, your risk appetite is higher, your flexibility is higher, so whenever there's a challenge, you can jump at it without thinking. Your ability to go after things which other people will want to ignore is higher because you have less to lose. The baggage you carry about perception, your experience, and you did not do this in 1962 or 1972 does not exist. So I would say that all the elements are stacked in your favor. What is not stacked in your favor is the fact that you believe that you don't have to work harder. So if you want to rise as fast as somebody else who has got more experience, on the piece of paper looks better, obviously the management will choose him because the management is not in the business of promoting young leaders. The management is in the business of performing, right, first. And then if the young leader happens to be the right person to make that performance happen over a long period of time, then that's what they would do.
Mr. Harsh Mariwala, do you agree with that? Do you think there is enough of an institutional mechanism in organizations to identify and nurture young talent?
I think there are many gaps if you really look at many companies. And I think the key advice to the young leaders would be to select company which will enable them to rise, because I know many companies don't have that kind of culture, where a lot of things are heavily centralized within the family.
Noshir Kaka, what's the one quality that you look for in a young leader? What's that one quality that you think separates the wheat from the chaff?
It's actually the power of observation, which is many people look at leaders and say they have performed so well, they've done X or Y or Z. Well, that's great. I'm more interested with what did they do along the way, right? And so I look for what I call apprenticeship. How have they learned from others? How have they taken opportunities to go and do things that were off the beaten track? How have they taken opportunities to do something that was a bit risky?
Let's also get in a question from a young leader with us in the panel. Vivek Mohan, you've got a question going. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, so I think it actually ties in rather well with what Mr. Nair was saying. As a culture, we tend to place a very high premium on experience. And in my opinion, at least, I think we place a higher premium on experience than on energy. So when a young leader comes up against the wall of experience, and then you didn't mention that the manager doesn't play God, but how does he overcome that?
If you are in the business of drawing a line, and the management wants you to go to point B, you need to start with point A, which is your point. Now, a man with experience will have a different point A, right? And your point A will be different, but point B will be the same. So your line will look different to his line. The mistake we do in most of our lives is we do not show to our manager how you would draw the line. You only want to talk about point B. Trust me, I can get to point B. Trust me, I'm the guy. Don't look for his experience. He can see that guy's line. He has done it before. I can see how he'll take point A to point B. I can see that. But I can't see your line. So you don't sell yourself. You don't say because. Trust me because what? I bring passion to the table. I bring hard work to the table. I bring intellect to the table, which is far superior. I bring ridiculousness to the table. That means I will go to ridiculous extent to make this happen. Right? So I bring so much into this table. Give me a chance and I will prove you that you are right. And to do that, this is what I will do in 30 days. This is what I will do in 90 days. This is what I'll do in 365 days. If any of these milestones are not met, fire me. Now I see you drawing a line. You have thought through the fact that you have inexperience. You have thought through your point A is different. You are telling me how you're going to go and get to point B. Yeah, I believe your story. But what really happens is, sir, experience is not good enough. Give me a chance. Full stop. Now I'll wait for your response. I don't see the line. If I don't see the line, I go to the person where I see the line. So please learn how to draw the line.
Right. We've got Govind here who's got a question on how, individual ambitions work with team dynamics. It's for Naushir.
Especially in organizations that work in a lot, smaller teams. The individual ambitions of these team members often, magnify the team dynamics as a whole. So before you have the idea, you need to take the team on board, and influencing a team like this, which is cutthroat, and climbing on top of each other, this becomes very difficult. So you're from a similar background, so I wanted to direct the question to you.
In this world, we are, very aspirational. We are genuinely very competitive, as India Inc. should be. I would term it that first, earn the right to grow. Second, always have the obligation to dissent, but with a control on how you seek to influence others, to bring them onto your side, as opposed to say, I have a good idea, you must be wrong not to understand it.
Harsh Mariwala, do you think our young leaders suffer from intellectual arrogance?
I think selectively, maybe some of them may be suffering, but at least it is our job, again, management's job, to bring them down to the earth and ensure that they come down to that level, because it is good for them. That humility is very, very important to grow. Unless you have that humility, and this is not taught in any management schools, in terms of interacting with people down the line. And there is so much learning at that lowest level, even at a workman level, that once they start doing that and once they learn from them, I think they come down to the ground.
Nitin Pranchpal, let me phrase this differently. Do you think young leaders are too impatient? There's probably nothing wrong in being impatient. Everyone should be impatient for success. Everyone should be driven. But are they too impatient for their own good?
I think I would say most are. Yeah? The reality is most businesses are relatively simple and don't require that degree of prowess. They require other skills. Unfortunately, we don't tend to value them. And so we are highly arrogant. We don't want to listen because of that. It's the biggest difficulty anyone has when dealing with someone else is to accept that somebody else's idea could be better than yours, because that means he is smarter than I am, he's more intelligent than I am, and that people simply are not able to deal with. So that's one issue. And the other, impatience is true. I think there are far too many people who are into the space of making it big, too quick, too early, don't want to take the time to invest, to learn, want quick results. And I think it is in the long run to the detriment of this individual, because you're not as well grounded, you don't build the depth, the skills. And in the end, I keep saying there are only so many rungs in a corporate career. Too quick, too early will mean you'll be slower later.